In this video, we will go over Accounting 2, Receivable List Menu. Receivable module serves to manage your receivables individually by each transaction. It is not a must to use Receivable menu for receivable management, since you can view the receivable balance of each customer by using only inventory sales and Accounting 1 sales data. However, the data of Inventory 1 and Accounting 1 module will not allow to view receivable balance individually by each transaction. So in order to check each transaction's receipt and balance status, you need to use Receivable module of Accounting 2 module. And prior to using Receivable module, you need to first activate the tracking number function for Receivable and Payable module. In User Customization, Configuration, Function Setup, Accounting tab, click either Receivable Number Management or Payable Number Management, and set the management method between required or optional, and click Save to activate the transaction tracking number feature. After saving, you'll be able to give an individual tracking number to each sale transaction, and you'll be able to manage receipts and balance by each transaction. It will allow you to control receivable balance in more details, since you can see which transaction has been paid or not fully paid yet. And firstly, we will see how to enter receivable details. You need to first enter receivable history so that later you can process their receipt and decrease in Receivable List menu. There are two ways to enter receivable history. The first is to link with Accounting 1 module for management, and the second is to manage receivable and payable only in the Accounting 2 module without affecting the data of the Accounting 1 module. And first, we will go over the first method, which is to link with Accounting 1 module for Receivable Payable Management. So, in order to do so, you need to record a tracking number each time you enter data in the Accounting module. And then you need to manage the transactions in the Accounting 2 module by using the tracking numbers that you entered. And for example, we will enter a sale transaction in Accounting 1 Sales Invoice 1 menu. Firstly, enter the transaction details such as date, customer, and amount. Then in Deposit Account field at the bottom, if a receivable account, such as Account Receivable, is entered, you can mark a tracking number under the account. And then the number will allow you to view this transaction in Accounting 2 Receivable module. And if you do not want to control this transaction by a tracking number, and if you simply want to add the amount to the total receivable balance of the customer, you can remove the tracking number and save the voucher. Then the transaction will not appear in the Accounting 2 module. And one thing to note is that in Deposit Account field, if you enter not a receivable account but a deposit account, such as cash or a checking account, and then if you enter a tracking number and click Save button, you will not be able to save the transaction, since saving this voucher will create both sale and receipt data. And you can also enter a tracking number when you enter sale transactions in Accounting 1 Fast Entry General Journal menu. you can use additional info field. Click Enter to enter a tracking number for the transaction. And in this menu as well, you cannot enter a tracking number if you have entered cash or bank account as deposit account. And meanwhile, other receivables account is frequently used as a receivable account. However, this account is not set as receivable account when you first start using the program. So if you enter other receivables account in deposit account field and enter a tracking number and click Save, the alert message will appear as well, and the voucher will not be saved. In this case, if you want to set other receivables as a receivable account and use it with tracking numbers, go to Accounting 1, Setup, Chart of Accounts menu. Click on Other Receivables account, and in Related Work field, set the field to Receivable Payable account and click Save. Then if you enter the sales invoice again, if you enter other receivables again and enter a tracking number and click Save, this time the voucher will be saved without issue. And in addition, you can also use tracking numbers when you invoice inventory sales by using plus tab or collective invoicing menu. If you click on the date number of an existing sales slip and click plus tab at the top, you can click Sales Invoice to invoice this sales slip. Then, in the same way, you can enter Accounts Receivable account in Deposit account field and enter a tracking number for this transaction and click Save to finish. Then this transaction will appear in the Accounting 2 module. So this is how you can manage receivables with tracking numbers by linking with Accounting 1 module. And we will move on and go over how to manage receivables with tracking numbers without applying the data to the Accounting 1 module. To do so, go to Receivable List menu and click New at the bottom. You can select the date when the receivable was generated, and in slip type field, select whether it's increase or decrease. Then enter each field such as customer, account, and amount. And once you have loaded the customer, you can see that due date field has been automatically set by the program. The date has been set based on the receipt payment due date settings of Customer Vendor Setup menu. In Accounting 1, Setup, Customer Vendor Setup menu, when you register each customer code, you can set the receipt payment due date of the customer in Credit Limit Price tab. And for this Day Cafe customer, I have set the due date to the 15th of the following month, and therefore, when you enter a receivable history, once you have entered the customer, the due date will be automatically set to the 15th of the following month. In Account field, you can enter one of the accounts set as Receivable Payable account, such as AR account and other receivables account, and so forth. And in Tracking Number field, you can enter a random number or click Function button on the right side of the field and have the program generate a new number. And for the auto code generation, you can set the variables for generating codes in User Customization, Configuration, Function Setup, Accounting tab. Go to the bottom section and go to Auto Code Number Settings section. Click each tracking number section, and then in Preset Variable section, set up the variables for code generation, such as factors, digits, and default values. And you can also manually set the due date and click Save to finish. After saving the receivable history, you can view the history in menus such as Receivable List and New Receivable Payment. And in Receivable List menu, the history that you've entered will be marked by each transaction type. So Increase Only Receivable means that the corresponding receivable does not affect the Accounting 1 module. And you can also batch upload multiple receivable data at once by first clicking New and then clicking ECOUNT Web Uploader at the bottom. You can download the Excel template, fill out each column, and copy and paste the data you've entered, and click Save. So please use this function and enter data more conveniently. Also in Receivable List menu, the increase and decrease history will be listed by each slip. You can search for a particular slip by using Search button at the top right. You can set various search conditions. And in the list, you can click on the date number of each history to view data in details, or modify, or delete the data. And in the list, for the slips that are marked by menu name in Transaction Type column, this is because they were created in the Accounting 1 module. So Sales Invoice 1, displayed here, means that you entered this increase by entering a tracking number when you enter a sales invoice in the Accounting 1 module. So for these slips, if you modify or delete them in Receivable List menu, the change will also affect Accounting 1 module, since the tracking number is linked with the Accounting 1 module. And if you want to delete only the tracking number and the receivable history of the Accounting 2 module without affecting the Accounting 1 module, click the slip and click on the tracking number and remove only the tracking number and click Save button. Then the transaction history will be removed from Accounting 2 module, Receivable List, but it will remain in the Accounting 1 module as receivable balance, so please note.